How's it going? James, OnlineCarShow.net. In this video, we're going to be bleeding the brakes on the Corvette C6 ZR1. So without hesitation, let's get this video started. Well, in this video, I'm going to go over basically a one-person and two-person method of bleeding your brakes at your own garage with your own tools. It's not going to take a whole lot of tools. I think in this video, I use an 11mm wrench, of course, brake fluid being the obvious, a turkey baster with a tube connected to it, and a brake bleeder hose. Cost you a couple bucks on Amazon for some of the pieces you may not have to this, and I've got some links in the description below. Just wanted to interject here and give a real quick thank you to Roger. Roger's a good buddy of mine. He's also a fellow car club member in United Muscle Car family, and he's also a neighbor. Roger helps me out here and there on the videos and the content that I provide y'all. And he's Roger1LE on Instagram. That's at Roger1LE. I'll put the little link thing here below, but be sure to go out and give him a follow on Instagram. He helps me out all the time and can't say thank you enough. As you know, I'm doing a two-man brake bleed video, so it takes two people to do it, and Roger's the guy behind the clutch inside the car. So thank you again, Roger, and can't say that enough. While you're watching this video, please go ahead and hit that like and subscribe. It helps my videos to grow and help support my channel. Now, I guess to get on to brake bleeding itself, I would recommend doing this, I guess, maybe every time you change the pads for sure on your car, your brake pads or rotors. In any time, I would do it maintenance-wise, maybe, I honestly do it about once a year, but I would say for the average person, maybe once every 2-3 years is fine, depending on how much you drive the vehicle, of course. If you're doing this video to try to stiffen up your brakes because they feel weak or whatnot, you may actually need to go in and get your brakes checked out by a brake expert. A lot of times there could be cylinder leaks or master cylinder problems, whatever that could be causing the problem. It never hurts to do this maintenance on your car, and by putting new fluid in the lines, getting rid of bubbles, you can increase the longevity of your brakes and make your brake pads feel a little stiffer and more responsive. Now, as far as brake fluid, as you'll see in this video, I'm using nothing but Motul 660 RBF. I'm also going to put a link to this in the description. I use this stuff on my clutch and my brakes, and it works great. And also, along the lines of that, if you don't notice you have a separate clutch pedal reservoir like the C6 Corvette has, some of the Camaros, the clutch reservoir and the brake reservoir are actually in the same, they're the same reservoir. If that's the case with your vehicle, as you're bleeding the brakes and doing this maintenance to your car, you might just periodically pump the clutch pedal just to get that new fluid going through the clutch and get the old out as you're adding in the new fluid and so forth. All right, well, in this video, I'm not going to show you how to jack up the car and all that. I did it in one of my previous videos. You can go check it out. Stance My Corvette. In that video, I show you the jack points on a C6 Corvette and how to properly lift up the car. So we're going to skip ahead to I guess, what tools are going to be needed. The first one is, you can see this little device I've built here. Basically taking a Folger, smaller coffee can, poked a little hole in it with a Phillips head screwdriver that fit my bleeder pipe or whatever you want to call this thing. And this you can pick up. I'll put a link in the description. It's a must-have pretty much for doing brakes, whether you're doing a two-man job or one-man. I'm going to illustrate both, but this basically works to where it only sends, you can see a little arrow here, so it's only going to send pressure one direction. It's got a little valve in there that stops it from going the other way, and that's going to stop from bubbles going back into the system as you're bleeding the brakes. And I'm also going to explain, I guess, how the one-man job would work. You want to set it to where this pipe is sitting at the very bottom, especially if you're doing a one-man job. And what you're going to do is go ahead and pre-put brake fluid in here and make sure this is submerged the whole time. So basically, the one-man job, you're not able to close the valve, go back and forth and pump the brakes. So instead, we're going to submerge it the whole time, so if fluid would happen to go back up in the line, there won't be any bubbles with it. So with the one-man job, that's basically a secret to it. You're just going to keep the line submerged in brake fluid as you're pumping the brakes. The next tool we've got is, I've got a turkey baster that I've put just a little length of tube on the end of it. I'll put a link in the description, turkey baster. I did use this in my last video too for the clutches, so you are going to use it here and there on the car. And I've just got a length of tube that I've cut, and basically it's on there pretty good now, but I basically just slipped over the end of the tubing. And in the Corvette and some of the master's brake cylinder reservoirs, the brake fluid reservoirs, you're going to see that there's a little canyon in there that stops the turkey baster from going all the way to the bottom. And we're going to be able to use this tube to go around that little canyon or whatnot in there and get to the very bottom of the brake fluid where it's the nastiest. And after that, you're basically just going to need the basic tools of lifting up, taking the lugs off your car and your wheels. And that's all you need for this job. All right, then we're going to take a rag or your fender protector, put it over. Don't want to get brake fluid on the car. Take the top off brake reservoir and get another can just to keep the old bad suck it out. You want to repeat that step until your reservoir is totally empty, and so we can start with brand new fluid in there and get rid of the old crap. Because I'm actually doing with this clean brake fluid, I'm not going to waste it, but just know if you're starting with doing this as a flush, you want to empty this as much as possible, bone stock empty. Then we're going to fill it back up. Make sure as you're bleeding the brakes, you keep checking the levels of the brake fluid so your tank doesn't go empty and you introduce bubbles that way. And we're going to leave the top off so the brake fluid, as we're flushing it, can go down the system. So leave the top off for the process, and you also want to clean the lid of this with a microfiber towel. You see some nasty crap on that. All right, to set everything up to bleed, as I mentioned, you're going to take off your caps. Make sure you keep them to put on later. I like to set up a little stand for the our little reservoir to sit on, and I'm basically going to connect it. And I'm not sure whether to do the outside or the inside first. So if I'm doing this wrong, I'm sorry, but I'm going to do the outside first. Put it over the top, as far down as you can get it. All right, so it does appear it's an 11 millimeter we're going to need. Use your 11 millimeter wrench and just loosen it to get it started, and then retighten it back. As I mentioned, if you're doing the one-person method, you want to make sure you do have some brake fluid in here, whether it's old or whatnot, just to make sure no air bubbles are going back up. Make sure your arrow's pointed down into the bucket. And now with the two-person method, what's going to happen? First, they're going to apply pressure on the brake pedal, and then I'm going to loosen this. And as they push the pedal down to the floor, once it's all the way down, I'll tighten it back. And just keep repeating the process. Loosen, or push the foot down, loosen, tighten back, foot off. All right, you want to try to do it? When I say press down, just press it, give it pressure, and then I'm going to say release. All right? Yeah. Press down, release, press down, release, press down. It's not going through this thing. It's just building pressure. That's kind of scary. No, it is. Weird. Let's try it again. It just like exploded everywhere.
Cool.
All right. Press down. Release. Press down. Release. Pressure go through. All right. Press down. Release. Press down. Release. And you're basically just going to keep repeating that process until you're not seeing any more bubbles and you're getting clean fluid through the lines like we are now. From there, we're going to move it to the back screw. Push it down over the top. The inside screw, whatever you want to call it, and just keep repeating the process. All right, press down. Ooh, this is my loose shit. There it goes. All right, release. All right, press down. All right, release. All right, press down. Release. All right, press down. All right, release. As you can see, we've got clean fluid going through. We're good to go on this one. We're gonna make sure you snug back, but don't over tighten your screws. I think they are made of aluminum, so just be careful it's not gonna back down. And you also want to make sure to clean all the brake fluid off your painted calipers and off your disc for sure. Now we'll put our caps back on. And we're done. We're simply going to put the wheel back on. And we'll move, as I've said, you want to start with the closest to the master brake cylinder and work your way away from it. So next we go to the passenger side front, and then the back driver side, and then rear passenger side. Repeat that step for all 4 brakes and you should be golden. Also, as you're doing this, like I mentioned, you want to keep checking your brake reservoir to make sure it's not going empty. That's the worst thing that can happen because you're going to have to start this process all the way back over. Now, as you can see, this is relatively easy to do at your house. As far as the one person, the two-person method go, which one I would recommend? As you can see, I always do the 2-person method on my car. It just lessens the chance of there getting an air bubble in the lines, and you're also sealing the line with pressure in it. So it could help to stiffen the brakes, etc. But if you don't have access to another person to help you out, you can use the 1-person method and it works great. I want to say thank you all so much for watching my video. Can't say that enough in my videos, as I say this at the end of all my videos, but thank you so much. If you haven't done so already, be sure to hit that like and subscribe below. I hope everyone has a great week, and we'll see you in the next video.